So this question will be for all the speakers. We'll go down the line. Start with Saren. Why did you want to do a PAACx talk?
Hello. Okay. For me personally, I think people have pushed me to do a PAACx talk since probably second year, and so I pushed it off for long enough. Now I'm a fifth year, and so I figured, go out with a bang. And so fifth year last year, so I decided to finally do a PAACx talk that people have wanted me to do. So thank you to the person who nominated me.
I really like Shrek. But I think more importantly, transferring is honestly a huge part of my identity. And being able to kind of dive deeper into that and be able to talk about kind of a bunch of different topics that all center around this sense of belonging and how we can foster belonging at Northeastern is something I definitely wanted to just kind of like put out there into the universe before I left. So yeah, like Saren, last year, figured I should probably talk about something.
Similar theme last year, I should probably talk about something. But also, I kind of alluded to this in my blurb, but I was really inspired by the speakers over the years at other PAACx's who spoke about their experience with like various health issues and various like invisible disabilities that they dealt with. And when things really came to a head and my health was really bad third year, I attended PAACx to support like people in my community and my peers and my friends as per usual. But then I listened to one of these other talks and I was like, wouldn't it be great if I was the opposite of what I was experiencing right now? And I was able to be in their position that it seemed like they obviously still have their condition that they're dealing with, but it seems like sort of a triumph or something that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. So I was kind of like biding my time for when I was actually well enough to like make this talk, and then by the time I was like, I don't want to spend like 15 to 20 minutes just talking about like woe is me. That's not like really my vibe. I don't like talking about myself. So I kind of turned it into like a mini educational thing as a pop out.
I chose to do a PAACx talk because I came to PAAC last year and I was really inspired by everyone that spoke. But also I wanted to do a speech because I wanted to make my 8th grade self proud.
I think I chose to do PAAC talk just because I think I like learned a lot of things in life, and I just like sharing those lessons, I guess, with people, especially because like if people have similar experiences to me, I think just hearing someone else talk about it and share how they got through it is just a very helpful way to get through the situation yourself.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but also last year, so I thought might as well. And another thing is just, again, like I went to PAACx last year and it was really inspiring, and I thought people shared like some really valuable messages. And throughout the course of my life, I've like talked with a lot of friends about different things, and a lot of them have mentioned that like I should become a therapist or something like that. But they were just saying like the way I put things was really great, and they've encouraged me to share my message more, so I thought this was like a good opportunity, like a good platform to share that.
This question is to all the speakers. What are some of the key layers of your onion?
Okay, well, I think this is a bit like, as the onion has many layers, we could all probably sit here for hours and talk about it. But I guess you could say on the surface level is like how they introduced me or all of us. I guess if you dig a little deeper, God, how many layers are we going down? Or are we just, is this?
The key layers.
Key layers. Key layers, okay. Okay. I would say maybe some more internal key layers is someone who genuinely tries to be really considerate about people. I touched it in my speech, but very much like I grew up in a situation where there's a lack of consideration. So I think now that has played a huge role into like who I am as a person, in the sense of trying to be considerate to others as much as possible, which has also brought like value of like self-awareness and self-growth into my life. All of those things have also manifested into not so healthy habits that I've learned over the years, again, peeling back more layers, but again, just have to address those and work on them.
Okay, I realized that I put my key layers into my resume. So they are, but they're like cool things. So I think my main layers though are, I guess they're like my values. So environment and sustainability, bringing minority stories to the forefront, promoting foodie culture, as many of you know, and then some of the more deeper ones, selflessness and like giving back to people, just being there for people, whether that be like in concrete actions or just like literally being there for people, like emotionally, and community. A lot of you probably got that from my talk, but yeah, community is a big thing for me. It's something that was there for me when I needed it, and it's something that I constantly want to foster for people, and I want to be part of a community that other people find value in.
Everyone has said such deep things. I guess not all the layers that I put into my speech, so like sexuality, ethnicity, identity in those ways, but also, I guess, well, layers can be like anything that we have in ourselves. So like, I guess my music taste, like foods I like, yeah.
Kind of struggling with this one, even though I had 3 people ahead of me give really good answers. I guess like a key surface layer of like things people know about me without having really met me. So I guess like my major is a big part of it, but then also like Asian American identity and like my involvement in the PAACx community. But I think also other things like multi-layered, multifaceted parts of identity, like being queer and Asian American in that part, and being a woman as well. And I guess, like other people said, like key values that you hold, like fostering a sense of a community, prioritizing like friends and family, and just trying to do my best and put good out in the world, I guess.
So I feel like I've kind of talked about this a bit, but in terms of key layers, I think something I've been working to kind of, I guess, dissect a little bit more is thinking about like my crunchy, hard external layer. Alan once referred to me as a tater tot and said that I was crunchy on the outside and soft in the middle. And the whole like, you're not ugly, you're just intimidating feedback has also kind of made me think about my external layer a little bit more, and just kind of like thinking about the ways in which we outwardly present. I think for a lot of like the middle period where I was in college, I was thinking a lot about like my internal values, what's important to me, ways in which we can foster a sense of belonging, how that's developed, what institutions need to provide in order to do that. And I guess like as I'm exiting that phase of life, I'm really sounding old, but I'm not. I'm starting to think more about like the external layer and what I want that to look like, as opposed to what I've let it look like for the past couple years. So I'm not sure that answers the question, but I thought it was better than repeating what I said. So without further ado, Saren.
I was thinking for the entire time, but I think my main point that I would like to make is that on the outside, I think a lot of people often come up to me and say, Saren, you're so brave, you know, thank you for sharing your story, like, you're so vulnerable, like, that's great, like, you're a hero, whatever, like, things like that kind of energy. But I think I'd like people to know that underneath all of this, like, I am still very much like a sensitive person, I think, and I think it takes a lot for me to do all of this, to be vulnerable, to share my story over and over again. And I think, like, I do choose to talk about myself and like share my story, but at the same time, I'm 22 and I'm already exhausted, and I have my whole life ahead of me. And I think understanding that, like, for example, I think this year I've been more involved in the PAACx community, and a lot of people have come up to me and asked, like, what year are you? Are you first year? and I'm a 5th year. So I like to think that that's a compliment that I look young, but I think it's because they've never seen me around. And I think I would like people to not look at me as someone who's been uninvolved, who's not cared about the PAAC community, but think more about what it takes to get involved. I think I touched on this in my talk, but I often isolated myself because meeting more people meant more of a chance that I'll get misgendered. And the only way to guarantee not getting misgendered was to be alone, because I wouldn't misgender myself. And so that's more of a reason why I was uninvolved, and so just being a little bit more cognizant of what it takes to be in a space and think about who is missing from any space that you're in, because it might be like a deeper reason than you might think.
Okay, those are good answers. The next question is for Emmaline. You talked about how representation of your own ethnicity was not very prevalent in your high school. How was it transitioning to Northeastern College, where there is a larger, more active Asian American community?
I think it was really great. I mean, I feel like I threw myself into the PAAC community. Like every year, I plan to like try to get more involved, even more involved for the like rest of the year. So like, hopefully you'll see me on an e-board at some point. But but for freshman year, like I joined the ASU, CSA, and then this year I'm now mini head, and then also part of NU Goal as well as ASU and CSA. So yeah, I think it's been really great to find like a really large community here, because it's a lot of different types of Asians, I think, and so yeah.
All right, this question is for Saren. Are there any aspects of Japanese culture that have helped to define your identity despite its limited language and adherence to a binary system?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Are there any aspects of Japanese culture that have helped to define your identity despite its limited language and adherence to a binary system?
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm actively going through right now, actually. I've spent a lot of time on YouTube. I've ditched Netflix and streaming services, and I'm now on YouTube primarily, just watching queer Japanese YouTubers, and it's definitely very few, but you know, they exist, and it's not very gender focused yet, from what I've seen, and I think Japanese people often conflate gender and sexuality. But it's just nice to see some representation of people just being themselves in Japan. And so I've come to realize that it is possible to be a Japanese trans person. And so I plan to go to Japan this summer, and I'm excited to just be myself for the first time in my own country.
The next question is for Elise. You mentioned that you didn't get a chance to scratch the surface of the issues in healthcare. So what are some of the main issues that you see?
Oh boy. I think a lot of it is like, what's probably most obvious to most people is the fact that we have like privatized insurance, like we don't have a public healthcare system, so it's like greatly dependent on, I touched upon how Asian Americans have a lower unemployment rate, but we have a higher uninsured rate. The nitty-gritty of that is because usually, like with trends of jobs, we're more likely to have multiple part-time jobs, and in that case, you don't qualify for employer-sponsored insurance, but you can also work for a relatively high-paying job and make a lot of money, but you work at a startup, and they don't like give you employer benefits like that. But at the same time, at both of those things, even if you work at multiple low-paying part-time jobs, you still make too much money to get government-sponsored insurance, so that's a really big issue. And I think another issue is just that it's so overwhelmed in the system. Like, I work at a hospital currently, and I recently had to go to the emergency department to like check something out, and I had a pretty positive experience, but I'm also an employee at that institution. I kind of know how the workflow works, and also I was just like really scared, and I had like time to kill, because otherwise I would have just been like home wondering if I was like unwell. So if you don't have that time, are you really going to spend like hours at the emergency department? Or if you don't work in healthcare, how are you supposed to know the hacks to like navigate the system? It's like super convoluted. Like anyone who doesn't have like a doctor already set up, like there's so many issues with getting that set up because of insurance, or you don't know where to go find resources. Like every single thing is different. So like I wish I could answer this question a little better, but like there's so many different issues. If you want to like talk about it, then I think it's easier to like break it up with specific things, because like the long story is everything's wrong with it, probably except the people who are like within the system and trying their best and trying to help patients, but the system and the employers that they work for are really failing them on every single level.
Thank you for your response. This one is for Cassie. How did you not let your past affect how you made friends in a new community and present yourself in a more cheerful, friendly way?
Okay. Well, can you say it one more time? I also need a second to think.
How did you not let your past affect how you made friends in a new community and present yourself in a more cheerful, friendly way?
Well, I mean, I feel like the issue with this question is, I think a big message a lot of us had is like our past is a big like factor into who we are now. So there always will be like a part of it that impacts like my personality and how I make friends. But I think one thing that I'm really happy about is growing up, I did have a very like supportive friend group, and on the topic of finding family, I definitely found like family in the friends around me, and because of that, and like that importance that I have on it, I would say that I genuinely am like happy to meet new people and like be excited to meet new people and have potentially find more people to bring into my life that I can call family. So I don't think necessarily it's potential like the whole everything that I went through makes it difficult for me to be happy in regards to like interacting and like with people and like finding community, because like again, like we're all here to help each other, so I think it's really exciting.
So before we do the last group question, this one is for Chou. What do you think is what is the most defining quality of a family?
I think it'd be an unconditional love, because I think from unconditional love, that's where a lot of other aspects of family stem. That's like where that sense of belonging comes from, because like you know that you won't be judged for who you are. It also just that's also where the idea of like you have a support system in a family. That unconditional love is at the root of that. So yeah, definitely unconditional love, because yeah, I think that's where the rest of the aspects of family stem from.
Nice. Our final question for all of the speakers tonight is, if you could sum up your talk with one key takeaway for the audience in one sentence, because it is 8:30, what would it be?
I want like my speech, but it's the last sentence. It's that it's your own life, it's your own identities, not anyone else's. Live for yourself, not for the convenience of others, and just be you.
I think mine's kind of similar. It's also what I concluded with, in that it's belonging matters, and do what you can to ensure that yourself and others feel that they have a place they belong. There's more to be said, but in one line.
Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself and others, and that includes going to the doctor and convincing your friends to go to the doctor.
I think mine would be the way I opened my talk and also ended my talk, and which that would be we're all made of stardust. But also, I think just like looking at the parts of yourself that scare you and like continuing forward.
For me, I think it's the line that even though it's easy to fixate on the things that happened in the past, the good and especially the bad, to always remember to look at the lessons that came out of the bad and also all the effects that came into the present because of the past.
I think the main takeaway from mine, I also kind of wrapped it up towards the end, is just developing a healthier relationship with our negative feelings, just making sure that we're not completely blindly ignoring it, but also not just wallowing and being drowned by our negative feelings, but really taking the effort to understand the why, but also more importantly, the what behind it, so we can move forward and not let it hold us back and live our lives.
One more round of applause for all of our speakers tonight.